Welcome back everybody to the Wandering Samurai Study, in which we review and analyze every single act told in Rurouni Kenshin. And today's act is Act 8. And then another. I drew a bit of a blank there when trying to recall the chapter name or the act name. But yeah, and then another. The conclusion to the Sanosuke vs Kenshin fight. And it was pretty short, pretty simple fight. Uh, it's kind of interesting to think though that realistically there was, maybe 2 or 3 pages or maybe just a few panels of fight told throughout this conflict, but really all it is just kind of background stuff, maybe kind of a little bit of filler for the story that is being told. These chapters, they're about 20 pages each, excluding the first chapter in Act 1 because of, the introduction and stuff. Usually the first chapters are always longer, but no, these chapters here, they're about 20 pages filled, and so to really just kind of throw in a fight, it really has to take a back seat. And so within a page and a half, the fight was over, and it was just the conclusion of Sanosuke versus Kenshin, and really the beating heart of the story is the conclusion, how Kenshin won Sanosuke over, how he convinced him that he's not as bad as Sanosuke believes all patriots to be, or all Inshin Shishi to be. So let's go ahead and get into the chapter summary. And we'll go ahead and talk about the talking points. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. The final battle between Kenshin and Sanosuke is finally here. Kenshin breaks Sanosuke's Zanbato and unleashes an aerial attack called Ryu Suisen. Although Sanosuke is at his limits, he refuses to be taken down by a patriot. Kenshin, who was already walking away to get a doctor, turns around and punches Sanosuke for not realizing that the true revolution is not yet over. Sanosuke realizes the similarities between Kenshin's way of thinking and his own captain's. Sometime after the battle, Kenshin, Kaoru, and Yahiko find a bandaged Sanosuke finishing off another bar fight. Sanosuke tells Kenshin that words are cheap, and so he will be sticking around to see if Kenshin's really the way he says he is. The chapter ends with Kenshin saying that another weirdo has joined his group, and Tai points out that Sanosuke yet again has skipped his tab. And so yeah, with this chapter summary, there really isn't a whole lot to get into. It is kind of what it is. The first 2 pages, or the first page and a half, or maybe, is just the Ryu Suisen, and then it's Sanosuke just refusing to go down. But it is the effort that Kenshin needed to take down Sanosuke that really just shows how resilient of a character Sanosuke is, how much of a force he is to be reckoned with, considering that it took 3 chapters of technical fighting to get Sanosuke down. It was the Ryu Suisen that finally did it, and even then he wasn't down. He got back up. His rage is what kind of kept him going. And it was Kenshin finally just punching him in the face and telling him, your way of thinking is wrong. If you really think that this is the right way, you're wrong. The revolution is not yet over. And just as Kenshin tends to do, he knocks some sense into these characters. And I think that this is just why Kenshin is just such a good character in the world of Shonen Jump. It's because Kenshin, in all of his might and all of his glory, he starting off does not have the coming of age story. And yes, we talked about this already, but it really just shows, it really kind of just hones in on this chapter, because if you're thinking about it, this is yet another person that he's coming into the aid. Really, the characters that we're supposed to project to, the characters that are growing and developing as characters, are the side characters. Again, this isn't something that is exclusive to Kenshin, because you can think of numerous shonen series that do the very same thing. So let's just take a moment to think about it. Kaoru is 17 years old. her dojo has been under attack. She is a woman who is trying to build up the dojo and restore the reputation that Gohei and Kihei have damaged for her father's dojo. She is trying to carry on the legacy of the Kamiya Kashin. Yahiko Myojin is a 10-year-old who is a descendant of a samurai family. And despite the samurai class fading into the past, through the Kamiya Kashin, through Kaoru's help, and through being part of Kenshin's group, is going to become a great swordsman someday. And then there's Sanosuke, who's 19 years old, who I would argue has had the worst hand dealt in all of this. He had to witness the head of his mentor sitting on a table because of the war that was going on at the time. And so, yes, Sanosuke has a lot to be angry about, and for him to be as resilient as he is, it's through Kenshin. All of these characters surround Kenshin. He is another weirdo that has joined the fray, but that's what makes them special. It's these characters who come from unfortunate circumstances before meeting Kenshin and watching them grow alongside Kenshin. That is a bit of the selling point of why Rurouni Kenshin is so interesting. But the main one really being Kenshin's story arc that we eventually get to see. But as of right now, Kenshin does not have the typical shonen story arc. But that's not to say that there aren't hints of it, because it's coming. And we actually got our first hint in this chapter, though it was a bit of a joke. It's right after the Sanosuke fight. Kenshin still has his battle eyes. Kaoru is asking him why he still has his battle eyes. And Kenshin says that because Sanosuke was such a problem, or because Kenshin couldn't hold back against Sanosuke, that his face just got stuck this way. And it makes me recall the one time after the Saito versus Kenshin fight, when Okubo shows up and Kenshin has to punch himself in the face to knock himself out of it. This is that, but it's played up for laughs. It's a funny joke. I would say that the character arcs here are really just around the side characters, and then just getting to see Kenshin do cool stuff, because he's already a character with wisdom. He's not the one that needs to be told what to do. He's not the one that needs to be directed on how to grow. Not yet, anyways. He's already the one with the most wisdom as somebody who survived the Bakumatsu and is on his own journey to atone for the lives that were lost during the Bakumatsu, the lives that were lost from Batosai, the manslayer. This chapter actually says it directly. It's his atonement. It's the way that the revolution has yet to be completed. It's his effort, though as small as it may seem to some, it is his way of continuing to complete the revolution. And I absolutely love this. I guess to kind of, finish off with a little bit of my favorite moments. There's actually two of them. Two. So there is a moment in this chapter that is absolutely one of the best moments I think that I've seen so far. It legitimately made me laugh out loud when reading it. And then again, it kind of just goes to my point that Yahiko is the best in manga form. It's when Kaoru is yelling at Sanosuke, saying that he only sees Batosai, the Hitokiri Batosai. And Yahiko says that she's right, and that he, Myojin Yahiko, will, and then Kenshin has to hold him back. Comedy. Oh gosh, it's those little bits of comedy that make Yahiko so good. And then finally, it's the concluding bit of the chapter, when after all is said and done, and Kenshin calls Sanosuke a weirdo, another weirdo that is joining his group, and Sano tells him to not start wandering again without his permission. I always thought it was the coolest line when Sanosuke tells Kenshin to not start wandering again without his permission, because I feel that this is Watsuki kind of dropping the hint, or at least kind of foreshadowing and kind of setting it up for himself, that he will intend for Kenshin to start wandering again. Because, as we know, when Kenshin does wander again and he doesn't say anything to anybody, Sanosuke leaves after him really absolutely livid about it. And I just love these little things here that they foreshadow things to come. And I really absolutely believe that Sanosuke telling this to Kenshin is just Watsuki already setting it up for himself for someday in the near future to have Kenshin wander again. I think that was always in the cards. I mean, it might have even been in the cards from Act 1 when he says that he does get tired of wandering, but he doesn't know when he will start wandering again. Yeah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Chapter 8. The Zanza mini arc, the introduction to Sanosuke, how we got our first real few chapters act storytelling, the first how do you say it, just the first story that couldn't be concluded in a single chapter. What do you guys think of this? How do you guys feel that this story, these 3 or 4 chapters compare to what we see in the anime? Which one do you like better? I personally think that the manga is better. But if you like this video, then consider subscribing to the channel and share it out to anybody who else you might think enjoy this. Anybody that is a Rurouni Kenshin fan, any place on the internet where people like to talk about Kenshin. But anyways, also give a like if you did like it, and give a thumbs down if you didn't like it, and let me know why you didn't like it so that I can continue to try to improve this series as we go on through every single act of Rurouni Kenshin. But for now, I will see you guys next week for Chapter 9 or Act 9 of Rurouni Kenshin. Bye, chan.